modernization. My first visit to Thailand, I was driven right into Chitralada Palace about 2 hours after arriving in Bangkok. Now, this happened about 40 years ago on my very first trip to Thailand, and I forget a lot of the details. I mean, it's a long time ago. But basically, I was going to Ohio State University as an 18-year-old student out of high school. And maybe I was 19. Anyhow, I was young, never really traveled outside the United States except to Europe with my parents a couple of times. So, anyhow, I wanted to do engineering, so I was living in the engineering area of the campus. And there was another student I always noticed eating lunch or breakfast or dinner. She ate pretty much all of her meal plans in the same dining room, and I just went over one day and just said, how are you? How you doing? What's your name? Can I eat here? And it turned out to be Kanya from Thailand. She was a graduate student studying agriculture, working on a PhD in agriculture for, well, the king of Thailand, I guess, sponsored to send her to the United States. And I found out, after knowing her about a year, I mean, she was married, she had a husband. I was about 10 or 15 years younger, so there was nothing going on, you know, beyond a friendly relationship. But we became good friends because, I don't know, I'm a pretty mild mannered person, I guess. And she was always in a good mood, smiling like a lot of Thai people are. And she's like, hey, if you ever come to Bangkok, let me know. I'll pick you up at the what's the old airport? Was Don Muang Airport. So I said, sure. So I have noise cancellation speaker here, but I am outside here in a village in Isan right now. I've recently retired, moved to Isan. So you may hear a motorcycle or a van or two, a truck. So please forgive me. But anyhow, so we got along great, and then eventually I acquired a trip to go to Taiwan, study at Chengchi University for a month, and learn all about Chinese culture from the non-communist perspective. So I mean that was a very very interesting trip in its own right. Maybe I should make a video about that. But anyhow, when that finished, I went to Don Muang Airport. Kanya picked me up, and we're driving. She's had me set up in Bang Lampu, the hotel. So we're driving toward Bang Lampu, and as you go to Bang Lampu, you pass Chitralada Palace. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't even know where the king lived. I didn't even know where Bang Lampu was at the time. And again, this was 40 years ago. So we're at a big intersection in Bangkok, and this is before SkyTrains or anything, or even a dream of a SkyTrain. Everything was just cars and bicycles and motorcycles. And I'll never forget. I'm driven from Don Muang down towards central Bangkok or the Dusit area. And we're at a big intersection. There's like 6 or 7 lanes going one way, 6 or 7 go the other way, and then you got like 6 or 7 both ways and cross traffic. So we're just sitting there and sitting there and sitting there, and I'm not paying much attention. I don't know the lights. We're driving on the left side of the road. She's doing all the driving. She had a nice, fairly nice, somewhat small car, easy to maneuver. So we're sitting there, and one thing I'll never forget is she just looks at me and says, Rod, it's my turn. Are you ready? And she just almost floors it and goes out in the middle of all this traffic. I can't say I was scared because I kind of picked up on, sorry, vehicle. So I kind of picked up on the traffic in Bangkok's not like back in the United States. It kind of flows. So the cars flow, cars cross, motorcycles are there, everything just kind of moves and kind of like a flowing pattern. So, it was new to me, but I didn't feel unsafe. But Kanya somewhat surprised me. I mean, she's kind of a small, unspoken person. But when she just decided it was her turn to go, she said, Rod, are you ready? It's my turn to go. So she just shoots out in the middle of all this traffic. it was, I mean, she drives around everybody, everybody's driving around her, and we're on our way. And then, several blocks away, she's like, "Hey, Rod, do you want to visit Chitralada Palace where the king lives?" And I'm like, "Why are you asking the question?" "Of course I do. But, Thais are polite, so it's her polite way of just saying, "Let's go to Chitralada Palace." She says, "I'll show you where I work with the king." So we drive to the northern gate. And I guess the southern part of Chitralada Palace is, the more fancy part with the fancy gates, the fancy gardens, and the fancy ways to look through the walls to see, the more impressive front face of the palace, I guess I'll call it. But we go in the back way, and the guards, there's 5 or 6 of them, they come out with the mirrors on the end of poles with little wheels at the bottom, and they check for explosives. They have us get out of the car. They go through the trunk. They go through the chairs. They go through the doors. I don't remember if they knew Kanye or not, but I imagine she came all the time into the palace. She had some, I guess she had her own ID or whatever. It sounded like she worked with the king quite often. So she's like, you know, let's just drive over here. Let's drive over here to where, the king and I work in the garden. She told me before they grow different rices, different vegetables, different fruits, and try to improve, the grains and the seeds or whatever ladies with PhD in agriculture and kings do. I don't know. But anyhow, she shows me the garden. And my first impression was, and I have to be very, very polite because I love the king of Thailand even 40 years ago. King Bhumipol, if I say his name even closely correct, was, I think, one of the world's most outstanding leaders. He did a lot for Thailand, and he seemed to really care about the Thai people. But he was more concerned about improving agriculture than spending money on a flashy, glamorous palace from 4 different sides of a city block. So, anyhow, the northern side and the agricultural area and the gardens, I thought were, I'll just say politely, they were a little unkempt. Let's just say unkempt. They could have been a little more, clean, but I don't think the king was that worried about it, to be honest. I mean, I never met him. I would never meet the king of Thailand. I'm just a peon. But from what Kanya told me about him and the way she worked with him, he cared. And I've read this online too. He cared about the people and improving the lives of ordinary farmers and citizens much more than having a perfectly spotless, fancy palace. So anyhow, it showed. Let's just say that that, that showed at least from the northern part of Chitralada Palace or Chitralada. Kanye always called it Chitlada, so that's how I say it even today. Not that I say Chitlada that much. But anyhow, we went through the garden. And then she said, "Hey, let's drive around the grounds. Maybe we'll see the white elephants." I don't know. I don't remember seeing any elephants. She did say white elephants in some of the palace grounds, but I never saw the good stuff. I just saw the more used and the more productive areas of the palace. I mean, I didn't see really fancy gardens, or I didn't even see any fancy buildings, but it's a fairly big complex, an entire city block of Bangkok. I mean, it's a big area, even once you get inside. Subsequently, I've heard you can get tours, but they're by VIP status only. It's not like you can just walk up and buy a ticket and say, "Hey, I'd like to go to the palace, today or even in a couple days." You can't just buy a ticket to get in the Chitralada Palace. You pretty much have to be invited, and few people are. But I understand. I've never done this either. People go to the southern side and look at the impressive, frontage of the palace and the gates. And I may do this soon next time we go back to Bangkok. The gates and the trees and the gardens and some of the buildings, I guess are put together more for show. I mean, even King Bhumipol, he didn't live there much. I guess he did quite a bit, maybe back 40 years ago when I was in his neighborhood. But so anyhow, Kanye and I did that, and then we were there probably an hour and a half. I don't remember. But then she brought me to Bangkok, and I stayed in a hotel there for like five. I forget how much it was, but I mean it's Thailand, and that's my first impact seeing the quality of Thai service. I mean, every hotel, even like some of the very worst hotels in Thailand are much better and more 5 star than 5 star hotels in America. I mean, the quality of service here in Thailand, it's a whole nother video. The hospitals, the stores, the 7-Eleven, pretty much anywhere. People look you in the eye and generally they smile. Yeah, you meet a bad apple, but it's pretty rare. So, yeah, I got a lot to say about that too. But anyhow, it's a start. I just tried to want to get this off to a start here. So, I want to start making a little bit longer videos now that I'm actually in Isan for 2 months. I still need to get a visa. We're going to Udon Thani, stay in the condo in a couple days, 3 days. But since I'm here retired now, I don't have to worry about stuff in the USA that takes so long to do and it's so expensive. I don't have to worry about going to work and making money. So I feel really, really lucky to be here in Isan. And I've been all over Thailand. Again, another story. Slept in temples for a month when I had no money with another girlfriend. Married to a Thai for 33 years before out of the blue, and I still don't know why, because I have a 5-year restraining order, which is bogus. Divorced me. I got the papers in the mail while she was out visiting her sister in Georgia. So I recovered from that. So I'm here now, so I'm very happy, but I have a lot of interesting stories to do. I'm going to make a video on when I was in the U.S. Navy and some of the adventures I had in the Philippines. A lot of adventures that most people could only dream of. But anyhow, I'll leave it at that. I rambled on here at the end a little bit too long, so I guess this is counting down. So yeah, it's an 11-minute video, so it's not too bad. But thank you for listening if you made it this far. I hate seeing this, and I don't think I'll ever make any money at this, saying this, but please, like and subscribe. I'm going to try to get better at this. I've even got these noise cancellation microphones, and this is the first time I ever used them. So I'm putting up whatever I made here just now. I'm not going to try to make this that much of a professional thing. There'll never be any AI, and I'm not paying anyone to help me make this stuff. So we'll see how it goes. Take care.